welcome to another episode on Live Chat. I trust that your week has been well and that you are excited just as we are to have this conversation with you. This is the moment where we invite you to just take a seat back in your house and just relax and get to enjoy the conversation. You can also decide to chat us up on Hope TV platforms, and we will be really, really appreciative of your feedback. Now today, we want to talk about something. I remember in one of our previous episodes, we had talked about manhood. And we said that discussion, we will be able to carry it forward at length. And this time, we as Live Chat are true to our promise today. We want to be able to understand what goes on in the minds of these men. And today, to be able to understand that, I have an amazing group of guests that I will get to introduce to you. But before that, I just want to give a big shout out to Asiana Gardens for being very hospitable and giving us a wonderful venue to come and host Live Chat and bring Live Chat to you at your homes every week. Remember to just take some time with your family, come and have an amazing time here at Asiana Gardens right next to Sitam Rongai. Just before we continue, I'm so excited for today. So today on set, I have an amazing group of guests, and you will notice that all of them are men. And today we want to be able to understand men's emotions. But before we get onto that, let's get to know our guests. We will start from that corner.
Like the way you introduced us, all of us are yes, true, we are men. David Kimani is my name. I'm grateful to be here, an entrepreneur, a father of 4. I love working with men and young people. So I'm really excited to be back again.
Thank you. Thank you so much for making time, David.
Hey, yo.
Hello.
Yes, my name is Anthony Canary. I'm a father of 2, 1 on the way. I'm a minister, entrepreneur, love Jesus, and working with young men, especially young men, for them to fulfill their God-given destinies. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
My name is Martin Onyango Aluala. I love giving my 3 names. I'm born again. I'm an entrepreneur in the field of events and entertainment, and a father of 5.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for making time to be on set today. And we will now delve right into it. Who is a man?
Who you are? Okay, so I think let's start. Manhood has been based most of the times on gender. And I say it's something you can be male but not a man. So when a child is born, these guys have been whatever in that place. When the babies are born and the doctor lifts up, says male, female, gender. But then at some point in time, the male needs to become a man. So it's possible to be male and not a man, because the manhood is responsibility. It's an office. It's not just something that you become. I know a lot of things we've had that it's about a certain body part. I don't know how else to say it. The people say because you're a man, because a body part is in a certain length, or you've gone through a certain traditional activity, rite of passage. And I say it's possible to be through, or even done a couple of things where, growing up, told you're a man because you've smoked something, or for lack of a better way, you slept a certain number of women. That doesn't make you a man. That makes you still male, because being a man is an office. It's a responsibility. It's something you actually live out.
And it is something you grow into.
It's something you grow into. It's something you are called into. And most of the times, the person who calls you into that is, I would say, it's a father. It's not just any other man. Someone who's a father or a father figure who calls you into that. And so if it doesn't happen, it's very possible to run around as a male even at the age of 50, but you're still not a man. You're not behaving like one. And the responsibilities a man has that he needs to actually carry out. So I don't know.
Anthony. Want to add anything there? I see him straightening his collar. I think he wants to unleash a very hefty definition.
No, I'm actually agreeing with David. Biology does not make you a man. Biology is what allows you to procreate. Being male is God-given. It has to do with a calling. It has to do with why God placed you here on earth. And as he said, which is very sad, that there are men in their 50s who are still not male. Yes.
Their males are still not men.
Sorry, yeah, they are male, but they're still not men, because they missed out on what it meant to be. They found a definition that was given by the world. And I'll go back to, to something that, we're discussing, with my friend here about peer pressure. When you are pressured and you find people that are like you pressuring you, you're not very few people have the strength to stand out and be counted and be different, because you're termed as an outsider. You're like, who will I stand with? Who will I hang out with? So there are even people who know Jesus, born again, but are still male. They've not become men because they still see themselves through the lenses of the world definition that I need to have this big car, I need to have this lifestyle, I need to have this kind of wife. Not even understanding who that wife is. So it is something that can only be derived from God. The definition has to come from Him. That you are a king, that you're a priest. You're supposed to grow into being a parent, a provider, that you're supposed to be a protector. All those are what make you that. And there's so many men who have no idea what that is because they took this definition from the world and are still carrying it this side of Jesus, and to the detriment of the body of Christ. Yeah.
I like that. That for now, the definition that we interact with mostly is what society has defined a man to be, more than that responsibility which he is called into and he's supposed to grow into.
Yeah. Man. Who is a man? And as my mind keep on boggling, who is a man? And thanks for giving at a very clear pace. I didn't also understand a bit, but I picked something from you which is very detrimental. Who is a man? Most men are male. If you look at it in terms of biological context and whatever. But how do you come from a male figure to a man? Being Christ-like. You get. If you look at creation, God created Adam. And he didn't say, I've created a man. He created Adam. And Adam became a man. And he became a man through transition. Even during that day, there was a transition that happens for him to realize that he's a man. To your young boy, he's a child, he's a boy. He's not a man, but we tend to say he's a man. Being born of Adam, he's a man. But he's a male child, not a man. So it's a path that has to be generated from either your father. Your father has to train you to be a man. You get. And most of us male figures, we look so much into our fathers. Yes. From male figure to our father, and then to being Christ-like. Because when you're young, at times most of us don't know the kingdom. However much you say that you have 2-year-old, 3-year-old, 5-year-old kid, 10-year-olds going to Sunday school, he's just learning to become that man. But it's a transition that takes time. And like you said, even at 50, some have not identified. And at times realize that in life, you put yourself in a cocoon by seeing yourself have attained all this. An example, the Honor Varian. If he has not identified himself in manhood, then he's still not a man, he's a male. You get the point? And that's a topic that it's very intricate and it needs diverse digging deep to actually understand. And every single day we're still growing into attaining that super manhood that we need to be.
So there is no
Christ-like.
one point you can say that you have become a complete man. It is still a journey of growth. Or is it not?
To me, it is a journey of growth, trying to be Christ-like. Like you said, man is a provider. You get the point. You have to protect your family. And most of us say that I'm a man. But if you go back to your house, you realize that your wife is the man of the house. At some sense, yeah, because you're not doing that which a man should do. And apparently, your wife is actually taking your position and actually doing everything that a man should do. If you can't provide, if you cannot show leadership in your house, and maybe your wife comes and do all this, realize that at some point, the manhood in you is off. And your children may not even identify with you so deeply. But until you realize that, yes, I'm the head of this house. A man should be a head. I'm the head of this house. God said, you're the head of the family. Like you said, you're the priest. How do you show your priesthood to your family? That's my take.
Aha. Okay.
Absolutely.
You seem you want to add
to
something, David?
It's interesting because this journey, again, manhood is, like I said, it's called out. So when we're in Christ, who calls us out? It's God. What does He say we are? He says we are sons, we are kings, we are priests. Sons look up to their father, and what He calls them to be is what they become. And there's certain things He's given us. Even when He was creating Adam, He gave him the garden, rule over this one. There's what God has created us to be, there's what He calls us to be as His sons, to be like Him, to walk in His ways. Do we do that? Kings take territory or rule the territory God has given them. And if He's our Father and we are His sons, then what are His purposes for us? As simple as what He said, family. If you're supposed to be a king in that family, are you showing kinship? And kingship is not about, I think, what we've watched in movies, mass murder and beating people and stuff. It's leadership. It's calling people out. It's leading. It's showing a path. And we are called to, it's in business. As you are king in the business, do you show people the path? As the employees, can they say, this guy is leading? And then the priest is worshiping God. It's leading people towards God. It's pointing people towards God. And those are the things we are called to. And unfortunately, that's why you even see the biggest battle, which is to stop men from being men, is based about destroying those three things. Because if a man is not able to sit at his father's feet and be everything his father meant him to be, if he's not able to rule the places God has placed him, whether it is in families, in workplace, the areas God has given him, not be a priest whose worships God, and not just in public, but his life is an act of worship. Every thought, every word, and action being an act of worship. Then we lose out being men.
Aha, I see that. So
As men, as God created us to
men
be.
as God created them
us
to
to
be.
be, yeah.
I like that. The fact that not just one rite of passage defines and puts a stamp on the fact that now you have become a man, but it is something that you grow into, and it is something that you learn to become. And the perfect model of being a man is right from Jesus Christ. Guys, we are off to a very wonderful start. So right now we are going to take a very short break, but when we are back, we will get to be able to understand this being a man and the emotional responsibility that comes with it. Back. Thank you for keeping it Hope TV and Live Chat. So before we went on a break, we were trying to understand who a man is, and we realized that it's a very difficult question once you just bombarded with it. Now, from the definitions that I was getting from you guys is that a man is defined by responsibility. Now, there is this picture you're trying to paint of a man who is a provider, who is present, and who acts like a man. Now, I want to be able to understand the emotions behind it. Most of the times, it's like men need to be immune to emotions. So today I want to be able to dig deep and further understand what really goes on in the mind of a man. And I will start by asking this. Do men have close circles for themselves? Like the way ladies will say go through something and then they will call their friends in a chama or their girlfriends around and they will talk about something and vent about it. And after that they're okay. Do men also have such kind of circles?
You want the real answer or you want the... I would say yes and no. One of the things, unfortunately, I think, depending on why the generation, I think in our generation, it was, you are the guy, Nulam, say, fight for yourself. What do you mean you are crying? What's wrong with you? never allowed to process emotions and all that. And so it was, I'm speaking of our generation, because there's a different generations also coming up. Unfortunately, I think you see this a lot. Even young boys in the supermarket, he falls down and everyone tells, shh, you can't cry. What's wrong with you? Be a man. Unfortunately, most men have been brought up in a place where they don't learn to express themselves. And so they only express themselves when the football team is winning or if Arsenal is losing.
You had to mention that.
I just had to, forgive me. Or on the watching, the motorist or something, is when you actually see an aspect of their emotions. But most of the times what you see is not the real selves, because unfortunately we're taught to guard ourselves and protect ourselves and all that. But yes, there's a place we need to be able to go that. And I can say the places we have men now who are forming groups and many places where they can be real. At Anthony, I was going to call him that, a name, a nickname. You're part of a men's group where people are real and come and say, you know what, I feel back. We've been friends for long. We can sit and say, dude, I'm in a bad place. And place you can cry and leave, and laugh. Days we will laugh about stuff and you're thinking, you are laughing about that, And the only place you can be able to get that, because men, for them to express their emotions to you, they have to trust you. Trust is a big thing for a man. If I can't trust you, you cannot know me.
If I cannot trust you, you cannot know me.
If he cannot trust you, you cannot know him. And so what you'll see is a picture, is an image. And what happens is when men learn to trust others, they're able to express themselves and be real. And yes, we have emotions. Yes, we are normal human beings. We have emotions. We laugh, we cry. We have good days. We have bad days, and it's normal for that. But it has to for you to be able to say that, it has to be based on a place of trust, where I know whatever I say, it stays here. I'm not going to read it on Facebook or hear it out there. And that's the biggest thing for most men, because I think from an early age, if they didn't learn to trust or they didn't have people they can trust, they cannot. And that's why you see men's friendships last very long. We were in primary school with him.
And
We will
it
not
still
quote.
amazes
We
me.
will not quote the years, but
Uh-huh.
that is whoa.
20th century.
Able to do that. Some of my very closest friends are guys who are with from high school, from Form 1. And these are guys I know if I called, they will listen. They'll be there for me. It doesn't matter what I say. I will not be judged. And that's, part of it.
Men are not born emotional.
Men are not born emotional.
Apparently, there is an accident of nature that happens when you begin to develop testosterone. The bit that joins your right and left hemisphere as a man gets damaged. So women have a thicker one than men. This is why you guys are more emotional. You are able to process with both sides of your brain. Do you have a problem differentiating between your right and left?
Yes, I do. Most
That's why-
times I have to, do this, and then I remember, oh, this is my
Yes.
left.
And that has scared me. I'm driving. I'm in a car with a lady and she's driving, and I tell her to turn left, and she does this. She literally lets go of the steering wheel.
To figure out which is the right
Yes.
and which is the left.
So because of that, we are analytical. We are very driven, because we are able to only process with one part of our brain at any particular time. Now, that does not mean that we don't feel pain, that we can't cry or feel emotion, but that is more of who we are. So does that mean that we don't want to do those things, that those things are not natural to us? They are natural to us when we are children. But now, if you do not bring them out in a child and encourage them to do so, you struggle with them as a man. Because there'll be times, yes, you're in pain.
But with no idea how to process it.
Exactly. Because first and foremost, by the time you're getting there, you're in problems. As in, it's really, really bad. By the time I go to him, in the past, I would have been in a very, very bad place. Right now, I know it's healthy for me to be looking for him before things get very bad. And vent. Right? So, and this carries on even in relationships, where when as much as I don't do it too much as when I'm wooing you, I'm very lovey-dovey. You know, we'll go for coffees and I'll be holding your hand and so we'll be taking selfies. But that switches when you get into marriage. Why? Because I achieved my purpose. Siko baya. I was not trying to be false.
It's just that at that point there was a goal you were supposed to
Exactly.
meet.
And I had to do that. And let me tell you this, it's not something that I've sat down and said, I'm going to try and be this person in order for it to win you. It is part and part. I suppose it's a natural thing that I'll be that way with you. But now, check what happens. When now you are my wife, guess what? I'm a provider. I need to take care of you. Where does my focus go?
So the intention and the focus and the energy switches
Exactly.
the focal point.
But yours doesn't.
Aha.
Right? So as a man, I'm supposed to do those things. I'm supposed to have an avenue. And unfortunately, there haven't been very many of them. And I thank God for the ones which are coming up and the ones we're hoping to set up in the future, where men can have a place to go and cry and lean on another man's shoulder. Now, even today, 21st century, I believe, 2021, it's still not very proper to see a man crying. If you walked into a public place, you walked into a restaurant, and there's a random dude sitting in the corner crying, I think you'd be very disturbed.
And I was actually about to get to that because, David mentioned it and then you're mentioning it about men crying. And so in my head, this is novel.
Yes.
It would seem sort of weird to cry. But you're supposed to cry because, say, if somebody passes on, really, I don't expect you to put on a straight face the whole time. And this was somebody that was very close to you.
Yes.
But can you just cry anywhere as a man?
No.
Now, why are men then very conscious about where and when to express themselves?
It has to do with a lot of things. It has to do with the fact that by virtue of being a man, there is an expectation on me from my children, from society. We go back again to peer pressure, right? So there, as I said, and the reason I use the restaurant is it's a public place and people are walking in and out. So I'm sure there'll probably be 3 or 4 tables around you that'll be empty. You can literally stop business just by crying as a man. As a woman, it'll be the opposite. People will crowd around you. For a man, they'll actually chase you like a Buddha. But go to the bathroom and handle your business. Because that's how society is. Is it healthy? Yes, it is. But unfortunately, men cannot express themselves that way because it will not be acceptable to the people around you. They'll find it very, very strange. It is a healthy thing. And as you said, if someone passes on, it is very healthy to grieve and to mourn and to cry. But in the same vein, I also believe there's a place for, especially with young men, to also show them that there are times they need to be strong. So it's a fine line. And I believe for me, crying, especially apart from the other emotions, crying should have a place. Because as I'm raising a young man or a young boy, I want him to also know that there are places. For example, in sports, I don't expect my son is playing rugby or playing football and anaanguka anaanza kulia.
Lakini ameumia. Yeah, I'm expecting him to react some sort of way.
No.
Why am I expecting that my daughter will cry right there and then, but I am putting a heavy expectation on my son not to cry in front of people?
He has to run to the toilet. And then come back with water.
It's because as a man, think about this. You're in the house. Now you're married. You have a son. You have a daughter, and you trip in the house and you start crying. Your son and your daughter will come and they'll cuddle you, but your wife will have questions. It's like, dude, umetegwa. Hello? It's because there's something I think primal in us, just like lions and all these predators, that is inherent in us and inherent even in women, that they carry a man as protector. Protector doesn't cry just because. By the time I'm crying is because I'm so laden with so much that I just need to offload it. So in order for this young man also to understand that, and protection is just not physical. And I think one of the things also that is damaging society is that young men don't understand their role as protectors to the girls around them, to the women around them. You need to protect their emotions. You need to protect their bodies. And because we don't know that and we're not taught that, it's so easy for young men and women to even engage in sex because, yes, it's a done thing, it's not a big thing, everyone is doing it. But if you understand, I'm supposed to protect this woman, when you understand what that is going to do to her, because as a man, and this is the thing, girls always wonder, how come this guy says he loves me, I slept with him, and then he leaves me? In fact, he can leave you the next day, ama the next week.
Ama hata ni hapo immediately.
Yes, you know, anakuitia Uber and you bounce, and he's good. Is because how you process emotions and how a man processes is very, very different.
It's very different.
Yes. So because of that, as a protector, I also need to mold this young man to understand there's a place where pain, he's supposed to absorb a particular amount of pain, but wisely, not just usilie, no. So as he said, there are places where, yes, it's okay for a man to cry, and it's encouraged, but also there are places where he needs to use that pain to build himself muscles, so that when he's a protector, he'll not cry because of every little thing that happens. Yeah.
Over to you, Martin.
Protector. Just like you're speaking, what came into my mind that we are built in such a way that we need to be able to absorb the shock absorbers. We need to be able to endure, and at times we over endure, and that's why we don't realize that we have pain. You get it's just like we come to a sphere whereby we are like a symbolic being. You know, it's just like a symbol that this is what a man should do. And at what point should a man crack that off from that symbolic? And if I look at it deeply, brings back again to the ego. Men are egocentric, you know. You don't want your ego to be shattered. You get the point? And just like an example I'd give. Here comes, I am working with you and we take a shoot and maybe we're using it as a prank and I start beating you. Believe you me, these two guys will clobber me like hell. You get the point? That protection part of it will be seen. How can you do that to a woman? Reverse it vice versa. You are beating me. Believe you me, John will come and check it out and like, is he normal? Then he walks away. Apparently you've overpowered me. You get the point? But you see, why is it that they will walk away when you're beating me? I need to stand for myself. And these are things that at times we need to put into our children. That at times as a man, it's not all about standing for yourself. At times acknowledge that, yes, this is painful. And at what point do I release that pain? You get the point? At what point do I let it go? And most of it, we were just told that, yes, you are this big man. You know, you are this crazy man. And I always think about it this way. Why is it that you guys are willing to share your emotions so easily, unlike us? And it may be true or false, but if I look at it, creation time, God created a man, but he couldn't create a woman before a man. And he made this man sleep and stole something. So maybe also
I like that expression, stole something.
that he picks from a man was that part of the emotion factor. You get, because you're emotional. You're able to bring it out. And like you were saying, we've been friends for long. But even at this particular moment, for him to reach a point whereby he'll call David.
It has taken a lot of thought into it.
You know David. We're not quick into just like, oh, something, hey, hi Dave, you know what? But the easy thing I'll call is maybe I've been caught with a cop. Yes, hey Dave, you know what? I was doing a turn and whatever. Can you bail me out? Those are simple things. But the deep things, even to us men who are very close, first and foremost, we will fight with ourselves. We will really try and struggle until I reach the bottom end, whereby I'm now seeing black, blah. So I say, hey, Anthony, hey, by the way, there's this thing. is when we share. And if you look at it also, just like the life of Jesus, he was God in himself. But even him, it was so hard to realize when he really showed his emotions. You get the point? He used parables, but at what point did you realize that he was emotional? A good picture is when he went to church and decided to beat everybody. It came out. You get the point? But at just once, and then again, where it came out clear is when he said, "Father, why have you forsaken me?" You get the point? That's when also we realize, so even God can be emotional. And see, that's now the human aspect of it that God gave him. He became too emotional, having all the powers, seek for help. Again. So it takes a man time to just accept that this one actually have to now, Anthony, boss. Cheza ka wewe. Kimaumana. Yeah.
It takes time. And what I am getting from you is that it really takes a lot from a man to be able to speak out to somebody else that they need help. But I want to be able to understand, because you have said that it has to have reached a certain level, or it has to be something that is completely intolerable. I want to be able to understand, what is this point that will probe a man to reach a point where he says, enough is enough? Because it seems, as you are saying, that a man is expected to be shock absorbent to some extent, to be pain tolerant to some extent for some things, and to be able to handle some things. But what is this point that a man reaches that actually forces him to be able to seek someone else out and tell them, yo, this and this is happening? What are some of these things that happen?
Well, maybe to just drop in something. What are some of these things? I want to use myself. I've walked journey of losing a wife. And apart from that, again, I've walked a journey of sickness. And I came to realize that actually, when I lost a wife, it was not easy still for me to talk. But when I came in contact with the situation that I was battling in my life, it has actually helped me nowadays to speak out. Because I realized that my key thing of healing myself is when I speak out, is when I share. And at times it will take a man to reach a dead end. Like me, I realized this. I remember when I was told, Pastor, you got cancer. And I was like, okay, what? You get? I never accepted. For my condition to get worse, it took me 4 months to accept. Within myself, fighting within myself.
So you had not told anybody at that point?
No, people knew I had told, but you see, accepting to start the treatment to regenerate myself back to normal. You get? And in that scenario, the day I accepted is the day I began thorough treatment, is the day I realized, yes, then we need to always let loose. Let loose of that which you think you can speak. And at times, situations will drive a man to let loose. But majority of men, however much you let loose, we don't let loose. Let's say we have 100% scenarios of letting loose. But we'll pick which scenario will I bring out and tell Hope, hey, it's like this.
So it is still
Before,
with some level of reservation.
definitely. It doesn't just come 100%. Even to friends. When you have something very deep, you will start slowly, even if you've known him for 10 years. Say, by this. And then you want to hear, what is he saying as a man? Have I niched? And then slowly by slowly, the way he will respond to you will make you open up. But if you realize that in his response is trying to show you that, no.
He's trying to
Then
downplay that
immediately you'll
situation.
build that wall. And you'll realize you dashed to another story.
Because you don't want to seem weak.
Yes. So you see, it's not helped you. Sometimes, how do you identify that scenario? Till today, I don't know. I'm still fighting with it. That level of whereby, even if Anthony is trying to tell me, no, maybe that is what will help me. But to me, I'm seeing Anthony now again, even you. You're trying to see this. You get? So it's we tend to be very mwendo wa kinyonge, like
You're very
mwendo
cautious.
pole pole kama mzee Kobe.
Mm-hmm.
Pole until we reach the destination. But in that, we realize that we lose a lot.
Aha.
So I think that's the level whereby we need to really dig deep. I'm also in groups with men, and we do open up. But at times, even from chats and wherever, I realize, if I say this, I will block him. And at times, I realize, he's telling us something, but he's not actually hitting
The nail on the head.
Yeah, he's bringing it so that he wants to see
Mm-hmm.
how can I sail through. That's the problem we face as men.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Anthony?
Okay, I think the problem we have, and we have had, is again, going back to how we process emotion as men. The minute Dave tells me, dude, I'm having some issues, nyumbani. Immediately, before he even begins to explain to me what's happening, I start processing it and looking for a solution, right? That's how I'm created. When it comes to women will listen. They'll listen, they'll commiserate with you, then they'll give you a solution baadaye. The main problem with, I suppose, with men is that when you are trying to offload this burden you have, you want someone to listen to you. But as I said, we are designed to offer solutions. That is inbuilt in me. And we have to break that, because I made a vow to myself that I will not die because of stress. We have lost so many men to stress and depression because they didn't have an outlet. So what you need to decide, and I believe this has to be an individual thing, is regardless of what Martin decides or thinks of me, I'm going to offload. I'll call the guy, dude, hebu tukunywe chai. We sit down. Mi niachilie. In fact, at that particular time, because obviously, I have to, as you said, I have to trust him. And then I'll be in a safe space. If I have to cry that particular time, let me, and ngoja niwachilie hapo yote. Whatever, and because, again, this is about what I think he thinks of me. I didn't ask for his opinion. So if he's okay with me, because by him coming, he knows I'm going to offload. Whatever opinion is left in his mind is on his ake. So let me live there light. And that's something that we have to cultivate within ourselves as men. Because trust me, it doesn't come naturally.
It doesn't come easy.
No, it does not come naturally. And that's why most women live longer than men. Because for you, it is so easy. I mean, I've seen it with my wife. I've seen it with, the ladies I have around me. It's so easy for them.
Because the slightest thing
Yes, they'll
is
call
like
a
a
friend.
tipping point for me to be able to express my emotions.
Precisely.
But for men, it has to be a grand event.
Generally.
Not even grand per se. If you try to look at it and trying to see, most men, we are not listeners. You get the point? Like you said, the moment you start speaking, I start thinking of the solution. You get the point? But some things you may come to me with that don't need solution. Just need this offloading.
Somebody to listen.
Yeah, just to listen and to let you offload. And that's where women beat men from. You get? If girlfriend comes with an issue, you will not start giving solution. Hey, Mato ameniwacha. You don't say that, yeah, that Mato, whatever, maybe he was a dogger, whatever. No. Number one, you'll give time to listen. What next? What next? And before you finish, you're free already. Even before she tells you what to do. Because that pain, you push it out. You get? The bitterness that was growing in you is coming out. But as we tend to speak, no.
Man it up. This thing we should solve like this.
And let me just add this quickly. We have a design as men, right? Look at my frame. There are not very many women that have this kind of frame, right? Having said that, I'm 6 foot something. A 5'4" man, no gym, nothing, is stronger than most women. We are designed strong physically. As he said, we have physical shock absorbers. And this also comes in with the protection. Because, for example, if, and I've learned this with my girls in the house, and they'll see a gecko, they all come running to me. They'll
You've
never
even
run to their
mentioned
mom.
it right now, and I'm already surveying my environment.
Right? It's automatic. It's built in you. You see danger, you're going to run behind the nearest man. You don't know who you're going to look for the nearest man. It doesn't matter. He might even be shorter than you.
But at that point,
At
he's
that-
a man.
There's something inbuilt. You're going to run and, hey, Ebu Hando, thought. The same way, that short man, he's with his girlfriend. He's 5'4", she's 6 foot tall. You come and chat her up, you're going to have issues with him. He's not going to back down. Now, again, this is inbuilt. There are things that, as I said, we need to understand that they're inbuilt in us. But that does not mean that it's specifically healthy. Did God make a mistake? No. I was built this way for a reason. And I came to understand that one of the reasons why I'm built this way is so that, yes, as a protector, my very presence causes ease. When I step into a situation, things ease. The protector has arrived. You might not even process it that way, consciously, but subconsciously, you understand that the protector has come. Mambo iko sawa. You hear noises usiku. You've never heard your wife say, "Ebu ngoja nikangalia ni nani." Ama you even with your sisters in the house. They're near the door, you're in the bedroom, uko nyuma, utasikia ukiitwa, "Mato, ebu come." They will never. It's automatic. You don't even have to be taught. It's just ingrained in you. So our physical frames, also, and I believe even our psychological frames, are built in such a way that we are supposed to be protectors. And also, even in a family setting, I'm a foundation. And you'll find that now when you come into relationships and into marriage, that without me as that foundation, which is never seen, you can't see the foundation of these beautiful buildings. Without them, this cannot stand. This looks beautiful and everything, and that's you and your children and the people around you. But without you as that foundation, that family cannot stand. So God created you in a particular way. And all those things that he created in you are supposed to be used at a particular time in your life. But when it comes to emotions, as I said, we are not exactly created to be automatically emotional. But we also need to understand that there are times when we need to be emotional. We need to work on it and bring it out at the right time and have a balance. So that, yes, it won't kill you, you won't be sick. And at the same time, you also don't become over-emotional where you're competing with your wife.
Okay.
You know, it's interesting, and I like what they said. We can be, and it's a journey. There are days I want to speak out. I don't want a solution. I just want to be heard. And it's a journey towards that. Unfortunately, for most men, it's not something that when you're being brought up, you saw. You see, when our father's generation, when they were hanging out together, they were either eating meat or drinking. You never had deep stuff. And when we're growing up, then what happens? You are taught to watch soccer and stuff. And it's crazy that you can sit with a guy and he's just gone through a divorce or been auctioned and no one has an idea. And he's in pain and all that because he doesn't think he can, or maybe when he tries, people have a solution. He doesn't want a solution. He just wants to be heard. And it's not just the emotion of crying and stuff. The things men go through, even things like anger and stuff. And it's interesting because even the things we go through, God doesn't give us emotions he doesn't carry. You read in the Bible, he was angry and stuff. And yes, there's a place to be angry, but he says, in your anger, do not sin. But how do I express that? How can I be seen that? I think we need to be careful, even as we are saying these things, that we don't put men in a box and then try to make like women, because they're not. And I see that in a lot of things happening, that she's angry because he never expressed, and that he's a man. There's a way he processes things and stuff, and there's a way you process. But also, how do you encourage him to be a place where he can be real and honest and be able to that bit? It's for us to stand with other men in that journey. Like we're saying, like we're talking here and saying, look, yes, you will come here and let's have coffee. And shut up for 2 hours. You'd come, what's going on, and I can express and say that, and praying for each other and standing with each other. There's a place to say, but then me, I'm angry, I'm feeling. This is how I feel, the days you don't, you can go and bang the wall. So that those days you go and you're looking at that wall and think, yeah. For me, the reason why this is important, my concern is because I'm looking at the number of men who are dying before their time because they never dealt with the emotions or never had a place to express the emotions. The number of men committing suicides, it's extremely high. We look at our father's generation, at times we talk about these things, it looks easy, but the more mothers, women left and what happens? This guy carried so much. He gets that place, it's at his body. It was anger, he became bitter. And the bitterness creates, things in the body that kills him. He carried stress. Emotionally cannot handle anything. But how do we start expressing that place? How do we start creating an environment where men can be real, can be honest, and no one judges them? And express that in a men's group where people can come and be. A place where people will come, you say, it doesn't matter whether I've been to that thing. What you're going through and what I went through and how I'm going through mine can be very different. But can I allow you to express? Can you allow me to express myself? Even if you've been there, you say, no, I have, how we put it. Because what happens, the reason why I see most men, even young men, not wanting to come and speak is because the so-called fathers, what's wrong with you? Why are you going through that? Instead of first listening, then after listening, being careful even what to say. And the times you even shut up. I have heard you.
I see that. Now,
Yeah, and you keep quiet. And there's a place maybe you can say just one word. I like what example you used. Even when you see Jesus angry, but he had the right to be angry because of what was happening that time. And yet at his worst, he could tell his father, you know what, I'm tired, I'm beat. How do you get to that place? And you see, it's interesting because even in that space when he said, let your will be done, did God say anything?
no, he did not.
He was silent.
Aha.
He listened, but he was silent. There's place for silence. But we do not have spaces like that because if you go speak to, at times, the woman in your life, she's giving us as an I didn't want just in order to be heard.
I see that. So basically, most times when men want to be able to express themselves, it's not because they want a solution per se, because they are designed to actually come up with solutions, but it's because they just need a listening ear. Now, there's something else that as we finish, I would like to just touch up on a bit, and that is with regards to men expressing themselves and to who they express themselves. I would want to know, are there women in your lives that you can be able to tell something? Say, for instance, right now in Kenya, we have this big issue of best friends, and it's mostly of the opposite sex. So you probably have a wife, but you also have another best friend who is female. What boundaries should men be able to erect or to put up and say, to this extent is what I would share with my female friends, and this is what I tell my wife? To what extent, and what are some of these things that you should, as a man, be able to confide in other women, but some of the things that only your wife needs to know? Anthony?
Right. Yes, I do have female friends, but I suppose it's a matter of boundaries, right? You need to be very careful what you share with them. Problem being, you guys are emotional, right? The stuff that I'll share with you that will draw you closer to me. I might be very innocent in the sense that I just want you to listen to me and to hear me. But because I'm sharing my heart, you want to connect with my heart.
So I will find some sense of intimacy there.
Exactly.
Oh, uh-huh.
And you might start viewing me as more than a bestie, right? Mm-hmm. Then that would bring issues in my marriage. So I think as a rule of thumb, when it comes to married men, don't share your heart. I can come and tell you, I'm angry because of ABCD that happened to work. But anything that is intimate, anything that involves deep emotions, let your sounding board be your wife. Mm-hmm. Because that's why she's there. That's why she was made a helper to you. She's supposed to be the one that's supposed to process all these things and even has the capacity to deal with them. Mm-hmm. And that's why she was in your life. Now, you're single. Who do you share that with?
That was my next question.
Right?
So as a man, then who should I tell?
Right. Mm-hmm. With you, it has to be someone that you really trust. It's either your pastor at church. It's either your father, your brother. But unless it's someone that that is courting you, I would also not advise you to just share that with any man. Mm-hmm. Because as I said, what would happen is you will find some freak of a man who is an amazing listener. As he said, we are not designed to be. But utapata yule, him, he's,
And he's
what?
sympathizing.
Kila kitu, yani he's just there, he's flowing, he's in the moment. You know, mpaka amepoza simu. It's on aeroplane mode. Believe you me, do that 3 times. You'll be dating him. Married or not. It's how you're designed. And this is why we need to understand how we were created vis-a-vis how you're created, so that we don't have this accidents happening. And unfortunately, I learned the hard way because I used to be, I used to have a lot of girlfriends. Growing up, I used to get along very famously with women. And then I get into, the modeling world, and I also meet a lot of other women. And for me, it was just, they're just my friends. And I talk, so I talk. Next thing I know, I'm getting strange messages. People are beginning to relate to me differently. And even when I got married, I informed all of them, but they didn't stop. Why? Because we had connected emotionally. And now it actually took me quite a while to disconnect from them. So for anyone who is thinking of getting married, a young person think of getting married, they need to understand that when you now get into that institution, there's some people you'll have to let go of. And especially the women that are very close to you. If they're not your relatives, you need to cut boundaries. Kabisa, itabidi. It's either you sit down with them and explain to them particular things, and if they can't understand, you have to walk away, because it can create a lot of problems.
It can bring a lot of trouble.
Yeah.
And I think I definitely like what you have said. And that is why I would probably not ask it to any of you. But David, I would want to be able to understand. There's always a lot of commotion in male-female relationships. And mostly it's because the girl is saying that we don't seem to understand each other. He doesn't love me the way I want to be loved. And then this man is coming to you with a different story, and he's like, she doesn't treat me how I want to be treated. So it's kind of like we are on different wavelengths, but we're in the same relationship. What is this thing that men want in a relationship that women are trying to force on them that is not basically them and what they're supposed to be providing?
Is there a general one? Or it's every relationship is unique. We are wired differently. Women are created to be loved. Men are created to be respected. And so you will find that in terms of this, she wants to be loved. He needs to be aware of her love language. How does she like being loved? It's one thing for him to bring you flowers and you're thinking, all I wanted was time with you. I didn't care for flowers. You just sit next to me and hold my hand. At times, not even talking. You need to know the love language. But even her, does she even know what her love language is? On the other hand, for the guy, what is respect to him? Because you see, what is respect to me is not what it is to him. The same way what is love to you is not what it is to Jane and to Susan. Most of the times, this happens because we don't know ourselves. We're still continuing trying to figure this thing out. And so I need to know what is respect to me. To someone else is being served tea. To another guy is please. To someone else is when I'm watching Arsenal being beaten, keep quiet. It's very, it's very different. And I think it's important that we go back to a place, do I know myself, even before I'm demanding it? And then also, secondly, has it been communicated? Because we are taught when we were growing up, if you want to, let's say, Chile, you love her, buy her flowers. She has no feelings. You're wasting your money.
She's allergic to flowers.
Good. Ideally, you could have been doing something else. Or you have been told, you know what, you need to sit with her and stuff. And she's just thinking, you're wasting my time. Get out of here. Buy flowers. And so it's very important. And then for you, you're just thinking, I've been told, the guys, if that's what you do, you must serve him tea. He's allergic to tea. He's taking it because you're the one who made it. He's just thinking, just get me a Coke. Or in fact, or just, sit next to me and shut up. So it's very important to get to know, first know self, and then as you're talking, communicate. And so that they get to know each other. Otherwise, what happens, it seems like a small clash, but it actually destroys relationships. Because if you haven't known who you are and he doesn't, then you have not communicated that to him or to her. You'll always be colliding. And you'll always be clashing. Maybe you just want to talk, express yourself, and he shuts up. And if he doesn't know that, here he's busy coming up with solutions, and you don't want a solution.
And you do not want a solution.
Just want it to be heard. but does he know that's how you feel loved?
I see.
Yeah.
Trying to get to understand the male mind and way of processing emotions seems to be a bit complex with how, and getting to understand that men generally want to be respected, not to be told I love you all the time, and we women want to feel loved, and so how it is expressed is very different. Now what I want to just say is that it has actually been proven today that to be able to understand the mind of a man, we will need to have another episode. We will need to be able to have another episode so that we can be able to ask more of these questions that ladies out there want to be able to ask, and even for men themselves, men who want to ask. So I am really so intrigued by the mind of a man, because how you're saying you process things seems to be a bit different. But I just want to be able to give the closing word before we finish, to be able to give the closing word here to Martin to tell us just something before we bring this to a close. But we will definitely do this again another time.
Yeah, as I've had my friends speak, and also as I've always tried to articulate about all this, the question you asked, and to me, slowly I'm coming to realize that the bottom line in trying to make sure this thing works is friendship. Most of the time we enter into relationship, a man is appearance. Like the two of us, yes, you're beautiful. All of us have seen that. Appearance, that's number one. You get. And after appearance, we run directly into loving you. When we begin with love, which is the greatest thing, you will tend to forget friendship. To me, I think we need to build on friendship. When we become friends, you'll be able to start opening up to those little things that we are talking about. Like at times you don't just need that flower, you just, that little things. And if we dwell and get to understand the friendship part, okay, sorry. Mm. Yeah, friendship. So to me, what I'd say in all this walubalu in terms of relationships and wherever, and having been into relationships and I've known where we've tripped and everything, is friendship. When you see a woman, don't see her as the other gender. See her as a friend. When you build friendship, both of you will begin to open up. And like he said, that this issue of besties and whatever and trying to share should be a no-go zone for sure. Me, I'd say. And I listen to Steve Harvey at times and how he articulates and he says, men are wired differently. I may be your friend for even 10 years. And within that, maybe I was seeing someone and he sees you. The moment you break up with him, and the moment I bring my shoulder you lean on, believe you me, you may end up being mine. You get the point? And that's where we always say that if you're not married, some things don't go to the opposite sex that you may be attracted to easily to share. Because however much I'm sharing with you, maybe what I'm telling you, David has never told you. So you're listening to me and yet you're falling for me. And before long, I realized that it becomes so good to me than Jane wasn't good to me. Because maybe when I'm sharing with you, I'm sharing with you about Jane. And you see, you've not shared with me about David, but I'm trying to see if I can have such a man who will just come and say this out and whatever. Then this is the kind of guy I'm looking for. Get the point? So at times you just need to, unless you're courting, or you're married. But if you can't share anything with your wife, then also that is not marriage. Yeah.
I like that.
That is not marriage.
I cannot share it with my wife. It's not marriage.
It's not
Then
marriage.
what is it?
You guys are in a courtship whereby it's like a bus. You've taken a bus. One of you will drop at the next stage. And that's where now we realize that divorce starts You see, at times we've not really studied both of us to know what does she want. Just like at times waking up and just say good morning. How many times have you woken up and you've not told your wife good morning? To us is okay. To her is a big thing. You get the point? Just good morning. Just when you're dressing up and you come out of the say, babe, how do you see this? And you see me, I was in my own world and like, oh yeah.
And we absolutely
The way
do
you
that.
answer to a woman again, she picks. These are the small things that they build. And that's how we wired so differently. As guys, we just, it has happened. I can't, how do you see this? You say it, you don't say it. You say, no, this coat is not. I say, no. I tell them to listen and say, this coat, yes, is good, but can you try the blue one? Just try the blue one. You'll make her happy. But you say, I just want to win. Today I said I'm putting on the brown one, like you came, the brown one. Spoils everything. So if you're not married to anybody, like you said, either your pastor, somebody you're very close with, and if you don't have, you have your father if they're still there. You have your mother. If they're all dead, you can't miss an uncle. You'll always get someone to share with. But don't share with the opposite sex, thinking that you may get a solution if you guys don't have attachment. You may end up getting attachment in a wrong place, and before long, you break up and realize, yes, we came into this because we're all wounded. One said she was wounded, one never said he was wounded. But this is when we realize, oh, this was all wrong.
We started it all on the wrong footing.
Friends,
Now we become friends with benefit. I definitely like that. And this calls for another episode, which we will definitely get to be able to understand more. But our takeaway for today is that men and women process emotions differently. And it's upon us to be able to become aware of that. And if you're in a relationship, be able to understand and have communication, clear communication lines with this other person so that you're able to understand their love language, how love is expressed to them so that you're able to efficiently love them. And the same is also reciprocated to you. It definitely means that men are human beings with emotions, but how they tend to process and who they're able to talk about their emotions with, it's a bit more of a process for them than it is for women. That's what's up on Live Chat today. Thank you so much for making time. Thank you so much for being our lovely viewers that always make time for us today. And also a big thank you to Asiana Gardens for giving us a wonderful venue so that we can be able to bring Live Chat to you. Thank you so much. Until next time, bye-bye.